So in this video, I'm going to show you everything you need to know and walk you through how to install CPP's Mini Sub-Frame Kit for 62 to 67 Novas. All right, so I've already got the passenger side torn down. I'm going to do the driver's side now. And all we're keeping are the brakes. For now, I'll pull the caliper off and just hang it here because I'm not sure if I'm going to do new lines and stuff, still in the planning stages. But right now, let's get the steering out and we'll get the control arms and everything else out of here. Get the spindle off. All right. I put a little penetrating oil on there just because that nut looks pretty rusty. All right, so what we're gonna do is we'll knock the steering out real quick at the fitment arm, and then all that's left up here is the upper control arm, spring, and shock. And there's two ways I can do this. I can go in there, undo the bolts from the upper control arm, and just yank everything out. Or I can do it the proper way, the safe way, and that's what we're gonna do on this. So we're gonna pull the shock out first. Put a spring compressor in there. Then go in there and pull the nuts off of the control arm, pull that out, and then we'll take the spring out. Easy and safe. So with the Mini Subframe Kit from CPP, you gotta remove the radiator because we got a bunch of rivets to pop out. We got a couple holes to drill, and I will show you that once we get there, but for now, let's get the radiator out. All right, so with the strut rod braces removed, I'm gonna go ahead now and clean up the rest of the rivets and remove them. All right, now with the car completely torn down, we've gone through all the parts, it's time to get the car together. Now I can start having some fun. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bolt up our first bracket, and this is gonna allow us to tie in our lower control arms at 2 points. Got one on there, the rest are gonna be easy. And this is all gonna bolt right back in where we took the rivets out for the strut arm brackets. Man, that's nice, that's nice. All right, so we got that bolted in, and it could have been easier. We used existing holes, and this is gonna allow us to tie in the lower control arm at the factory point, and now here on our new bracket, it's also gonna stiffen up the front end because now we've tied in both sides of the subframe to the front. Let's go ahead and start with the lower control arms. All right, so be sure you put your washer on the inside. What that's gonna do, it's gonna clamp around the sleeve that's on the inside, which is gonna prevent this from slipping. If you just use the cam, it's got a bigger surface and it's not gonna apply as much clamping force to the area it needs to. And it'll be the same on the rear cam also. And I'm gonna go ahead and set the alignment so it's the same on both sides. That should get us to an alignment shop. Once the alignment's done, and put the lockout plates in there. And that's just for more aggressive driving if you're out on an autocross or I don't know, maybe you're just an aggressive driver all around. That will for sure eliminate any slippage here and keep your alignment where it should be. I'm just gonna snug these up. Don't over tighten them now. So we still gotta get the rest of the car together, but just enough so it holds itself. So be sure you tighten up the nut and not the bolts. If you tighten up the bolt, you're gonna turn the cam. Essentially, you're just gonna keep pushing this control arm around in the alignment stroke. So tighten up at the nut. So before I got too ahead of myself, I went ahead and test fitted the radiator. It is an aftermarket one. And with the bolts turned the other way, they were just a little too long and hitting the bottom tank. So what I did is went back in, turned them around. That way we got the shallow side up on top. We're good to go. All right, so it's time to install the new spring pockets. They got this little tab on there, which is gonna locate it up in the shock tower. There's gonna be a little hole that it's gonna lock into. It's about that time that we got the spring and upper control arms in there with the spring perch. Even though we're using a lowering spring, I'm gonna go ahead and use my spring compressor to hold it up and out of the way while I put the control arm on. So one thing you wanna do is take your time when you're putting your spring in there. You wanna make sure it sits in the top pocket. That way it lines up with the bottom spring perch. All right, so I didn't wind that thing way up there just because it's a lowering spring. There's no need to. It's just up out of the way enough so I can work with the lower or the upper control arm and then get the spring perch in there, get everything lined up and indexed, and then we'll release that spring onto the perch, which should be good to go. All right, we'll go ahead and put the upper control arm in. I'm gonna go ahead and drop the car so we can get the lock washers and nuts on there. All right, so this has got this little tab here, which is gonna go against the spring here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and release the spring compressor, and the spring should fall right in place. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and put the shock in. They got a couple little bushings here. They got this little shoulder. That way when you put your next bushing on there and the washer, you can't over tighten the nut. All right, so this will also bolt to your spring perch. Once you get that lined up, bushing, washer, and nut. You might have to lift up a little bit on the control arm to get everything straightened out. All right, so I went ahead and installed new carriage bolts. They can be a little tricky, but if you take your time, not a problem. There we go. And we'll go ahead and put the nuts on there. There we go. Good thing about the carriage bolts is that they will catch underneath and lock themselves into place. And we'll go ahead with the shock bushing. These you can over tight, so just be careful when you're going ahead and wrenching them down. There we go. So I'm just tightening up the bottom of the shocks, and you'll feel a bottom out on the shoulder. These you cannot over tighten. All right, so I just picked up the car from the alignment shop, and wow, what a difference. The car's so stable, it rides beautiful. It's a totally new car. Outside the fact it's the same color and still 4 doors, it's a totally new car. One thing that really jumps out at me in this car is the way the car handles. Before, the car used to roll over on itself. I mean, it was horrible. The car is so much more stable. You could actually take the car out, have a good time at an autocross day. So, you know, not only is the performance of the car there, but the quality of the ride is there. It's smooth, you know, you hit a bump, it absorbs every part of it. I'm ready to hop on a freeway, take this thing cross country, and, you know, maybe hit a couple stops. So, and, you know, one thing I did notice when I was taking it over to the alignment shop, I got a little nervous, was how bad it was driving. It was like, man, didn't seem like it made much of a difference, and that's all because of the alignment itself. So these cars have a ton of adjustability in the alignment because you can adjust the lower control arms and the upper. So again, make sure you align the car before you judge it. Trust me, you're gonna love it. A couple days work. The quality of the parts were awesome. Everything bolted in as directed, and the price couldn't be better. So the performance is there, the ride quality is absolutely there. It's comfortable to drive. I love it, absolutely love it. That wraps up this video. If you want to see more on this car, as far as suspension, brakes, and steering, click the links below. When you're ready for your high quality parts, visit classicperform.com or give us a call.
Thanks for watching. If you're ready to upgrade your classic car or truck with performance you can trust, just click the link in the description or head over to classicperform.com and check out our full line of suspension, steering, and brake solutions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap that bell so you never miss a build breakdown, install guide, or performance tip.